Hello everyone, welcome to my lesson. It's all about sequences of events. My name is Miss Quintana. These are our lesson objectives and standard. The objective is the student will be able to identify sequences of events of a story by creating a story sequencing map. The standard is identify and describe the main story element in a story. So before we dive in, I want you guys to write down your morning routine in order as soon as you have woken up. I would like at least 6 events written or illustrated on a piece of paper. So once you finish writing or drawing out your morning routine, I want you guys to consider these questions to highlight prior knowledge of order in our lives. How did you organize your morning routine? Why do you think it is important to organize events? What do we call when things are in order? How does this connect to being an element in stories? Are there ways or indicators to determine the order of events in a story? I want you guys to keep in mind these questions as we go through this lesson. Now, let's dive right into the lesson. Now, one of the elements to a story is sequences. What is sequences? Sequences is the order in which things such as events occur. As readers, it is important to know about sequences in order to comprehend the different kinds of stories we will come across in our lives. As writers, it is important to know about sequencing to organize our writing and make sure that the events or scenes that we write are in order. S'mores in the morning. So we know that it takes a series of steps or events to make food such as s'mores. There are ingredients to it, such as graham crackers, marshmallows, the chocolate, and the heat provided. It all comes down to the order of how to arrange these ingredients to get the final product or ending, which is to eat those yummy s'mores. I will tell you the sequences of events on making s'mores for breakfast. So here I have an organizer of how I prepare and create my s'mores. First, I grab a graham cracker as a base for the s'mores. Next, I grab a piece of chocolate to add on top of the crackers. After, I get a big fluffy marshmallow, the biggest ingredient. Then, I put the marshmallow on a stick that will be put over a fire so it can get toasted. Lastly, once the marshmallow is toasted, it's put on the other graham cracker. Finally, you put those two crackers together and squish the ingredients for it to become a s'mores, and it's ready to be eaten. If you notice in my story of making s'mores, there were words in the beginning that I emphasized and highlighted. These words are called sequencing or transitional words. They help us tell the order in which events happen. This is just a small list of them, but there are more out there. Take a moment to look through the list. Did you get it? If not, that's okay. We'll go over it again in the next slide. So here we have a picture story sequencing worksheet. Can you determine what comes first, next, after, then, lastly, finally? Look over the images and consider those traditional words. Now then, so if we break it down and look at each image, then we can determine what is going on and arrange the order of which events happen. As you can see in the second image, the girl is waking up from her bed, so that would be the first scene to the story. And we would write, first, the girl wakes up from her bed. The next scene would have to do with something you would do when you wake up, which would be getting ready for the day. So the next scene would be the first image of the girl doing her hair. So then what would we write? Next, the girl gets up and starts to prepare herself, such as brushing her hair. For the next scene, what do you think? You would have breakfast. So in this case, the fifth image of the girl eating breakfast with her dog would be the third scene. So then what would we write out? After that, the girl eats breakfast with her dog. The next scene would be which of the following remaining images? Well, after you get breakfast, you dress up to go out, right? So then it would be the third image of the girl getting her items to get ready for work. This would be the fourth scene, and we will write, then the girl gets ready for her day by getting her items to take to work. The fifth scene would be which of the following? It would be the girl going into her car to drive to work, right? So then it would be the last image, and we would write, lastly, she gets ready to leave her home and get in her car to drive to work. The last scene is the last remaining image, which is the fourth image of the girl sitting at the desk, right? So then we would write, finally, she arrives at her job, to get ready for work. Now that we have gone over together, we will transition to our group activity. So I will divide you guys into groups where you will have to make a poster in this style of the worksheet. Each group will be given a scene from the book Officer Bucko and Gloria, and you would have to illustrate and write a description about it. Once everyone's done, you will come together as a class and arrange the poster and use your traditional words to create the sequences of events of the story. Here is the independent learning you guys will be doing on your own. You will retell a story of your choice by sequencing each event in the correct order, either through illustrations or writing. Put the beginning and ending and main events in this worksheet. Use transitional words to help you out. To wrap up this lesson, here's a summary of what we went over and why sequencing is an important main story element. Sequences, again, is the order in which events occur. It is one of the main story elements to a story as it gives structure to storytelling. Without it, the story would be confusing and we as readers would get lost. For writers, it would be hard to write a story. We can understand the sequences of stories through words such as first, next, after, then, last, and finally, as well as illustration can give evidence on the sequences of events present in them. So the next time you do your reading, look for those words and you will get a sense of the order with events. That is all for this lesson. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. So that was for my Microteach 1. Now on to the verbal reflection questions. The first question is, why did you make the choices you did for this lesson? Subject area, standard, stimulus variation, and assessment, etc. So I chose the subject area of reading because as I was going through the book, I chose it as the first subject that came to my head. So I planned according to it. This also ties to the standard regarding main story elements in a story. I noticed that there were sequencing terms scattered throughout the book, and the illustration depicted the events happening. So I chose the story element of sequences to complement it. For stimulus variation, I chose pausing because as someone who gets nervous and tends to speak fast, it was the right stimulus variation, not just to take a moment and make sure everything goes smoothly in the teaching, but also to grab students' attention and generate curiosity throughout the lesson. Lastly, for the assessment, I chose to give them an organizer where they can illustrate and write out a book of their preference so that they do not feel limited, and really I can check to see if they understood the concept of sequencing. The next question is, what was the most difficult part about planning this lesson? The most difficult part about planning this lesson was figuring out how to optimize in terms of how to teach the topic of sequencing, especially in the I do or models instruction within the gradual release model. Since there's so many strategies to go about in teaching this topic of sequencing, I had to really research and figure out which would be the best for me, and as well make sure it connects to the rest of the other section in the model. For the last question, what are your plans for Microteach 2? What will you do again? And what will you change in your planning? For Microteach 2, I plan to continue using the book Officer Buckle and Gloria and go to the subject area of health education since it encompasses around safety, so I'm definitely going to look over the standards regarding the topic. When it comes to doing something again, I will definitely be using the pausing stimulus variation because it really helped me keep a steady pace when teaching the lesson. and interactive activities that give room for various methods of showing work that the students can do to illustrate their understanding of the concept. Something that I will be changing though is finding a standard or making an objective that gives more room to teach the concept using various strategies, as well as since the Microteach 2 is a student-centered, I will have to consider more emphasis on cooperative and interactive approaches such as projects for the students to gain more opportunities to learn the concept present. And that is it for my Microteach 1. I cannot wait for the next as I am excited to come up with more interactive activity for it. Thank you for watching. Bye.